Hello again, everybody. This is Ed with Call Me Mr. Broadstreet. Kind of doing a little retrospective as this year is the 50th anniversary of Red Rose Speedway. But I figured instead of just doing this, on my own, usually just blabbing on and on, wanted to bring on Sara Schmidt back to the show. Sara, welcome back to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me again.
Good, good. Well, no, definitely good. You kind of inspired me with one of the last comments on the show, and I said, you know what? Yeah, I haven't really re-listened to Red Rose Speedway in a while. Obviously, we know it's 50th anniversary of this, 50th anniversary of Mind Games coming up if it hasn't already quite passed, and then a little album called Band on the Run. Don't know what that's about. And also Ringo's album, Ringo, and of course, Living in the Material World by George Harrison. So a lot of stuff. Definitely a lot of stuff to cover. So we'll go ahead and just show, this is kind of the version I was listening to here. Just the regular CD version for folks at home who may not have it. This is from the Capitol. I think 1991 is when this was released on CD. Not really going into the bonus tracks, but I know we were talking a little bit earlier. And here's the archive edition. So nice and glossy and shiny and everything. And just to show folks the back right there. Doing a little research, I think this is something along the lines of "We'd Love You" to Stevie Wonder and Braille. So that's a really cool little touch right there. Really nice they included that too. Without the, that wasn't on the original CD version. So we'll go ahead and dive right in. I guess we're going to go ahead and give our track by track, interpretations, our feelings on the album, things like that. Just go through a little bit of chart stuff as I like to do on the show. Kind of like Ken Michaels, I'm definitely a chart fanatic, in that way. So Red Rose Speedway, U.S. release date, April 30th, 1973. So we're just a little bit past 50 years. Same release date in the U.K. U.S. chart position, number one chart position for albums. U.K. album chart position, number 5. So pretty good showing. Pretty good showing there. Of course, it has, we'll get to that track, but My Love released as a single, which hit number 1 in the US and number 9 in the UK. But I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. So we're going to go ahead and start on the first track. So the first track, Big Barn Bed. To me, great opener. We hear a snippet of this from the Ramon reprise back in 1971 as the ending track. Probably my favorite track on the album. In fact, when I was younger, when I used to do mixtapes, I'd take that Ramon reprise, I'd put it on first, and then I'd segue it into Big Barn Bed because it kind of just goes like one into the other. I always thought that was kind of cool to do, even though that's 2 different albums. But yeah, Sara, what's some of your feelings on the opening track, Big Barn Bed?
Yeah, well, it's an awesome way to start an album with that beginning. Dun, 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 dun. I mean, that's just awesome. It's a great beginning. When I think of Big Barn Bed, I think of 10 years ago when I did my once-in-a-lifetime sound check. So Paul McCartney in Memphis, and he actually did Ramon on the ukulele followed by Big Barn Bed, which at the time I didn't realize he had never done that before, and has, as far as I know, hasn't done it since. It was like I just thought he did that at the sound check, but no, that was like people are like, "Wow, you actually heard him perform Big Barn Bed?" Yes, I did. I got to hear Paul McCartney perform that live. So
wow, that's one I never got to hear in the 2 times I saw him in concert. That's pretty cool. That was soundcheck was at the which tour was that, the Out There tour? No,
I think it was Out There. It was in Memphis, and it was in May of 2013. So the 10th anniversary of my once in a lifetime sound check.
Oh, that is awesome. That is so cool.
I also think when I think of this song, I think of the James Paul McCartney TV special, and how Wings, as they're performing, there's like all these little TV screens, and then they show their name and like little facts about them, like little goofy facts about them. Like I have that connection to that song too.
Very, very cool. Yeah. No, that's right, because he did the whole special around this time too. Live and Let Die being the single, but I'm not going to quite go into that one today. That'll be saved for probably another time.
If I remember right, that's what started the James Paul McCartney special, was Big Barn Bed, just like the album. So good start.
Yeah, and it's good. It's good to have that as as I think part of the. I've got the set somewhere, the archive set, but that's probably going to be a whole other deep dive at some point. I'm looking off to the side because it's like right over to my left here. If I can just reach it. But pretty big set. Definitely no huge set. So we'll go to the second track, My Love. What else can you say? It's a bona fide classic. As I said, released in a single in the US, hit number 1, hit number 9 in the UK. Henry McCulloch's guitar solo, completely inspired. I think of it kind of as like a prequel to No More Lonely Nights. It's obviously a love song to Linda. He's good at kind of doing those ballads, those very, kind of soaring ballads. Very, very similar, or you could think of No More Lonely Nights as a little bit more of a rewrite of My Love, since this, My Love came first. But both definitely great, wonderful songs. I mean, hearing it, I think a little bit on the radio at times, at least much further back. I know it probably hasn't been played in a while, but I mean, man, just that guitar solo alone, just that Henry just, he absolutely did it, practically right off the top of his head. Just said, yeah, let me go ahead and do that. And from my understanding, Paul really didn't let people do that. But what's your feelings about My Love, about the song?
Well, people probably won't like my opinion. It's my least favorite on the album. I don't feel like it fits with Red Road Speedway. It's a good single. I just don't think it fits, especially as the second song. It just doesn't flow with the album to me. And the whoa, 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 whoas at the end get on my nerves. They just do. And like when he does it live, he goes, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm like, oh, just stop, Paul. Just stop with the woes. I don't know. I think you could come up with better lyrics than whoa, 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 whoa. The guitar solo is I mean, it's not a bad song. It's just not one of my favorites. The guitar solo is awesome. I mean, I think having him do what he wants, although from what I understand, that guitar solo may have been part of the reason why he quit Wings.
Yeah, probably the frustration, a little bit of that, because it was always going to kind of be, it was going to be kind of Paul's band, even if you called it.
And Henry wanted to play it live differently because that's his background, is kind of a jam free. So you're not going to play it note for note like the album. And Paul was like, no, you're going to play it note for note. That's what everybody wants to hear. They want to hear that solo that they hear on the radio and on the album. And that was a little clash, if the rumors that I heard are true.
That is a good point. I mean, like for me, okay, let's say in an ideal world, let's say Paul decided to play No More Lonely Nights for whatever reason live. As much as I love the Dave Guitar, live TV, folks, the Dave Gilmour guitar solo. It is. You do want to hear something a little different, I think. Like, what they did with Things We Said Today on the 1989-1990 World Tour. They kind of extended it a little bit. I like hearing little flourishes like that, as opposed to, I guess if you want the record version, you got the record at home.
Yeah. But I understand where Paul would be coming from too, because when you go to hear a group live, especially somebody as big as Paul McCartney and Wings, you want to kind of hear what it sounds like what you're used to hearing, especially the big hits. And I can see, a lot of people do fall in that category because I could see where he's coming from. Yeah. But I don't think there would be rioting in the auditoriums if he played the guitar solo differently. I don't think people would be booing them or anything. I don't think it would have been that big of a deal.
No, absolutely. But sometimes to switch it up, I don't know. But yeah, so ideally, okay, with My Love, then if that's not, let's say that's, you get to replace that song in the album, what would you replace it with, do you think?
I don't know. I would go right into The Right Thing from Big Barn Bed. I wouldn't put a love song in between them. I'm not sure what I would put else. Probably The Mess, because I love The Mess.
That is a good one. Yeah. You know what? That is, especially since it's the live version and everything. That
but I wouldn't put it as the second song. I think the second song needs to be another stronger song, and not that My Love's not strong, but it's a love song. I don't know. I never felt like it fit. Like it doesn't flow right to me.
And that's cool. You know what? Hey, that's great. To have different perspectives. I love hearing the different perspectives as well. hey, we all definitely have different feelings, but I get it. The whoa, 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 whoas, yeah. Re-listening to it, even last night a little bit, I I like it, but yeah, sometimes it can go a little bit long. It's almost like like Curly from the Three Stooges or something like that. It's just
I don't
kind
know.
of
Have you ever heard that live one where he just really goes off on the whoa woes, and then that's stuck in my head now. Whenever I
oh okay, well yeah,
hear the
yeah,
single version, I think of this live one. What was that from? Wings, the rock show. I don't know. I don't remember what it was from.
it could have been Rock Show. Funny enough, I gotta re-listen to that now, but yeah, so we're kind of extending it and extending it.
Yeah. Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm like, oh, just stop, Paul. I don't want to hear all that. Just,
We'll definitely we'll get on the right thing. You see what I did there. We'll get on the right thing with the next song. So, you know, get on the right thing. So we're going into the third track, a very bouncy tune, some great piano work, really amazing harmonies on the whole album. I found when I was kind of re-listening to this, last night, and again, I hadn't pulled this one off the shelves in a while. There is a John connection with the song. When I did kind of a little bit of research, Dave Spinoza is actually doing guitar in the song, so kind of a little bit of a John connection here. But definitely a strong song, and definitely, I mean, the drums kind of just going and piano pounding. I'm like, all right, yeah, pretty good. What's your thoughts on
yeah.
Get on the
Oh,
One Thing?
yeah. I agree with that. It's a great one. And what I think about the album as a whole is, I think this is where Wings really became Wings. Like, you hear those harmonies with Linda and Denny Lane, and as I always say, the three of them singing those harmonies is what made Wings have that sound. And I feel like it really was missing. And well, what was the other one? Wildlife was the
Yeah,
only
Wildlife was the
album.
previous, the
Right.
previous album.
I don't hear it as much in that, but like Red Rose Speedway is where Wings became Wings, and I think The Right Thing is kind of where you really first hear that, and it has a distinctive sound that you're going to hear, throughout, because Denny Lane was with them till the end.
Oh yeah, and even a couple months ago when I got to see him in concert, it was really cool to get his autograph, to meet him, and I was just like, oh my god, and
Yeah, I
yeah,
saw him in 2019. He
nice.
came here.
Yeah, no, it just you do, yeah, you do recognize that sound, because yeah, it is very much. And I mean, for me, so Wildlife for me is my least favorite. Like, Wildlife for me is the weak link in the whole catalog.
It
Just
is.
my
It
own
is. I mean, I
personal.
think that's pretty much standard.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as I remember it being, but it's like, gave it another listen, but it still isn't as strong as some of the later Wings. But I think Red Rose Speedway is really where Wings took flight.
It took me, yeah, I had to feel you were going for that one. Yeah,
That's
they,
really, and I think
yeah,
The Right Thing is kind of the first song when you let's do it in order, where it really gels with that Wings harmonies and everything. And it's just a
yeah,
good song.
no, definitely. And I think the overall feeling on the album is that I think Paul, it felt like, all right, we have McCartney, we've got the beginning McCartney, we got Ram, definitely kind of a step up with the studio sound.
Mm-hmm.
Wildlife, I think, it's the stumbling block. I have a couple that I'd like, but again, it's not my personal favorite. Red Rose Speedway, it's like, yeah, you're hearing the classic Wings, you're hearing him kind of pick himself up again after stumbling, and especially those melodies, those harmonies, especially when I was hearing that throughout the album, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is Wings.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It really is. It's, you got Denny. You could hear Denny clearly. You can hear Linda clearly harmonizing with Paul.
Right. And it's no mistake that it's not a Paul McCartney solo album. It's a group.
Yeah. It's definitely, it is definitely the group. The group's gelling together. They're coming together. It's definitely a strong track. Again, also one of my favorites off the album. Just
Mm-hmm.
even when I heard it a long time ago, that this is one I would always kind of gravitate towards. This and Big Barn Bed would be the ones I'd probably play the most before, excuse me, before listening to this again. So the next track we have is One More Kiss. Nice acoustics, I thought, when I listened to it. Feels like maybe it could have been on an early Beatles album. I don't know. That's just kind of listening to the song construction and everything. But What were your thoughts about that particular track?
It kind of has that When I'm 64 kind of vibe to it. Not necessarily, but that's kind of the direction I kind of feel it's in. It's, it's a nice kind of country flair a little bit. I don't really know how to put it in exactly what kind of genre of music it is, but it's a nice little song, kind of easy flowing, and I like it.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, funny enough, before you mentioned that, I was thinking kind of country, re-listening to it, and then I was like, is that like a little slide guitar in there, or am I hearing things?
Yeah, I don't know that, but yeah, it kind of has a country When I'm 64, like old time music
Yeah,
kind of thing. I don't know. It's a different kind of song,
yeah,
but I like it. I don't know. It's
yeah,
not too long. It's
yeah.
like a nice album filler kind of song.
Yes, yeah.
It would
That's
never be a single or maybe a song he would perform live or anything, but it fits well in the flow of the album and just fills the album. I don't know.
yeah.
That's
No,
kind
no,
of
you're
where
right.
it fits for me.
Yeah, that's you're right. Kind of moving the album along a little bit and everything. We come up to the fifth track, which I I appreciate a lot more. Kind of listening to it again. I think when I was younger, I didn't quite appreciate the song as much, but Little Lamb Dragonfly, if I'm remembering correctly, kind of inspired by the story of there was a lamb that Paul brought in on his farm in, I guess, Scotland or wherever it is near Mull of Kintyre, kind of bringing it in, helping it from the cold. I think it was, it wasn't doing too well. And unfortunately, spoiler alert, it didn't make it through the night, but trying to keep it near this like open stove or heater. Wonderful melodies, definitely, very emotional song, very, very touching song, I thought, when I re-listened to it, and kind of especially when that story, that background. But yeah, what are some of your thoughts on that track?
Little Lamb Dragonfly is my favorite on the album. It might even be one of my favorite all-time Paul, like at least in the top 10 of my favorite Paul songs. Since the moment I first heard it, it was one of those, like, it just grabbed me and I was like, whoa, let's rewind the tape and hear that one again. Like, I'm not ready to go on. I want to hear that one again. So from like the first moment I heard it, I like, I'm kind of, maybe because it kind of gives me a little Beatle flashback with like it's two songs put together into one, like A Day in the Life or We Can Work It Out, or I Got a Feeling, like that, just whole two songs into one. I like that. I think it goes together well. And I don't know. I just think Paul sounds really good. His voice, and Linda sounds good on it. I don't know. I think it should be in the Paul Hall of Fame of best songs.
Good, a definite contender. When I re-listen to it, I'm like, yeah, this is really, really good. I don't know, to me, and I think even when I'm finding with this album as we're going on, as we discussed a little bit before, before starting this, I was pleasantly surprised. And I thought, why have I kind of overlooked it all this time? And maybe it was a little bit of that. It does kind of get a little bit of a rap from critics or whatever, or maybe I just I put it back on the shelf. Yeah, I don't know if I'm reaching for that one, but yeah, very pleasantly surprised, especially with this song, in particular.
Right. And it's one you never hear people talk about. You never hear them go, Little Lamb Dragonfly, great song. Like, you never hear. I mean, all the podcasts and stuff I listen to, I've never heard anybody mention it as like, what, Paul McCartney song is awesome. It's just, so it might just be me that thinks that.
I know I could be wrong, but it may have been mentioned. Maybe someone as a guest on like the Two Legs podcast or something like that. I know a couple people I've heard kind of giving it some good praise, but yeah, but maybe not as common like as Band on the Run.
Right, Band on the Run, or in the same vein, I think people talk about Bluebird from Band on the Run as like a beautiful kind of soft Paul McCartney song, where I think, oh yeah, I like Bluebird a lot, but it's no Little Lamb Dragon, like, where are you guys not bringing that one up?
Yeah, it's the thing with his catalog. I mean, there is all these undiscovered gems, and I think I know I've heard that mentioned on a lot of podcasts, but it is true that you get these cuts, these more deeper cuts, that it's like, this is a good piece of songwriting. It's a great piece of songwriting.
Yeah, definitely.
He's going from that, and then we go to the shortest song in the album, Single Pigeon, for the next track. So when I'm going through that, I kind of thought again, and throughout the album, great harmonies, kind of a nice piano tune, a minute and 50 seconds or something like that. Single Pigeon through the, I thought it was nice. It was kind of a good. It keeps the album flowing. I don't know if I can add much more than that.
I like that line, Sunday morning, fight about Saturday night.
Oh yeah,
I like that line.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that is a good line.
I mean, that's probably when I re-listened to it yesterday, that line stood out to me again. I'm like, that's a good line.
Kind of a little bit like Lady Madonna, kind of that same similar.
Yeah, I mean, like, you just think about what fight did they get in Saturday night that they're still talking about it on Sunday morning. Like that's a good line.
Okay, Paul, what did you do wrong? Come on, man. We know it had to be Paul's fault.
I'm sure it was, because why would it be Linda's fault?
It wouldn't be Linda's fault. No. But
that stood out to me. I was like, that's a good line in that little song.
Yeah, that is. You know what, that definitely is. Just kind of ambling along. I mean, I think if anything, maybe that song could have been a little bit longer. Could have extended out to 2.5 minutes or so. But yeah, but definitely kind of like, okay, we're keeping the album flowing. We're keeping it going.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the strongest track, but it's all right.
It's there. We get into the next track, When the Night. The line that I really liked when we listened to this, when the light of the night fell on me, and then they're repeating, fell on me, fell on me. Just again, those harmonies working, that kind of piano working, maybe almost a little bit 1950s in a way. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, that one's another one with those harmonies with Linda. Just people say what they want about Linda's singing, but I think she was just perfect for Wings. I mean, maybe for some other group she wouldn't have been, because she not necessarily is a dynamite singer. Like, she's not a soloist by any means. She's not like some strong Broadway soloist or anything. But for the purpose of like a song like that one, she just does really good.
Yeah, and she's blending into the background. It's not, like I said, it's not. They never, probably hardly ever. I don't think they ever, that I can recall, said, okay, now a solo from Linda, or we're gonna have Linda do one song.
Unless it was Seaside Woman.
Yeah, that's about the only one I can think of.
Right. I think there's another one too, but they were few and far between. She was always a backup harmony, and she did that very well for someone who wasn't, as far as I know, she was never a trained singer, or singing was never in her back pocket. Like, Yoko, not that she's a great singer, but she was a musician, had trained in piano. And
yeah, so it helps a little bit having that background.
Right. I mean, as far as I know, Linda really didn't have any background in music.
Not really, no. I think, they were kind of learning as they went along, and you hear the harmonies in the background, especially during Wings, but I mean, even later stuff, but we're jumping ahead in the timeline. And then we get to the next track, and this one, as listening as an instrumental, kind of a trippy little instrumental. Of course, we're talking about Loop, first Indian on the Moon. Kind of Pink Floyd-esque a little bit, maybe.
Maybe. I always think the title is weird. Like, what does that mean? First Indian on the Moon, Loop. Like, what does that mean?
I think first Native American on the Moon would be my guess. It's probably what they might have titled it now, but yeah.
Or is it like somebody from India?
That's a good point. That's good, because as I'm listening to the track, I'm thinking they're kind of doing the heavy drums, a little bit of chanting over the
right. I mean, kind of a little bit of Indian influence in a way. I don't know. Like, that was my thought while I'm listening to it. I'm like, what does this mean? I don't know. They could have left it off, but it's there, and it's good. It's fine.
Yeah. It's like
take it or leave it.
Yeah, it's you're making a sandwich for lunch. It's in the middle of the sandwich. It's there. It's part of the ingredients.
Right, and it kind of makes Red Rose Speedway a little different. It has this instrumental track there in the middle of the album.
Yeah, it's definitely as I'm looking through this, it is kind of maybe a little bit more left field than a later, Wings album, such as, you might, even if you got an instrumental on something like maybe Venus or Mars, but I don't think there was an instrumental on that I remember off the top of my
Yeah.
head. But but I mean, if you even get a deeper track there, it's going to sound a little bit more commercial. Only 2 years after after this album, or something
Hmm.
from the later Wings, from London Town or Back to the Egg or something like that. It's going to have a little bit more of a commercial sound to it in a way. But yeah,
Right. You know,
it's funny though. It's funny you do bring up Indian from India, and then I was kind of thinking more like, well, maybe Native American, but now I can kind of see it.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. He might be thinking Native American Indians. I don't know what he was thinking.
Yeah,
It's an oddball title, but a lot of instrumentals have weird titles. So
a
you
bit
can
of
name them whatever you
perhaps a
want.
bit of shall we say inspiration that night.
Yeah, very well, knowing what was going on in their lives in
Yeah.
1973 and some of the trouble they found themselves in.
Oh yeah. Some of those plants come up illegal. I don't know what happened with
I
that.
know some fans just send them some seeds in the mail, so they planted them to see what would grow. Who knew? Who would ever have guessed it was something illegal?
Sure, it came
Those
up
darn
illegal.
fans
Right.
always getting into trouble like that.
Oh, definitely. Well, we're coming kind of to the last track on the album proper, and it's the medley Hold Me Tight, Lazy Dynamite, Hands of Love, and Power Cut. When I was re-listening to it, I was even re-listening to this a little bit even before taping today, as well as last night. And I'm kind of thinking, okay, you get an 11-minute, medley. Now, to me, I think like the first half might be a little bit stronger. The Hold Me Tight, Lazy Dynamite section, maybe about the first 5 minutes of the song. I thought it was overall pleasant. I thought the piano and Power Cut kind of a little bit reminiscent of Let Him In. Like it was almost that far away from him kind of going, okay, maybe I could reuse something like that. That was my impression, at least. But what's your thoughts on the medley overall?
Well, I'm a sucker for a good medley on an album. I mean, I love medleys on an album. I don't know why, but so I'm all about this medley thing, but I think it's a good one. It flows really nicely from one section to another, and then gets all tied up back. I like Hands of Love. I like it's kind of bouncy.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah.
I like that one, but yeah, I really like it. It's good music just to have on. Like I guess I just like listening, especially to the medley section, just having it on while I'm doing stuff around the house. I'm not really thinking too deeply on it, but just listening, just having it there in the background. It's perfect for that.
Yeah, that does kind of sum it up. And the album itself, so show I know, as we were discussing one other picture from the archive edition here real quick. Let me see if I can find it again. Really nice picture. Speaking of Linda, as everything's flipping around here, but let's see if I can pull that up to the camera there. But again, a really nice photo, especially this is from the 2 CD edition that has like the bonus tracks and everything.
Yeah, I
So
really should get that.
yeah, this one, I want to say the price on it was, much was it? Well, I mean, given even a slight bit of inflation, it might be 20 something bucks, if that, for the 2 CD set. Got it, definitely got it off the same place I got your book, actually, off of Amazon.
Yeah.
With all those. I'll go with kind of my impressions of the album overall. So, as I had messaged you before, for a while I kind of gave it like a C plus. So I guess on my individual scale that I do at my shows, it probably would have been a pickup next in the past. When I re-listened to it, kind of give it a really solid B. I think it's a really good to great album overall. Re-listening to it, I couldn't deny the medley. We were just talking about the medley,
Yeah.
but the harmonies, the
Mhm.
harmonies with it, the structure of it, I thought, especially the flow of the first, how many songs do we get until one night? I mean, at least the first 5-6 songs at least flow very well. I mean, again, almost like a side one, very well put together in my view. I know we differ on my love, but I mean,
Yeah.
definitely like a good side one starter. and again, Paul really starting to regain some of that strength he lost with the Wings Wildlife. And like you said, yeah, this is where Wings is starting to become Wings. You're hearing that. You're going to hear this in future albums as well. So, yeah, you'd be pleasantly surprised that when we spoke, Sarah. But yeah, I actually would have to give it a good to great album. I got to upgrade it to a B. It's actually grown a bit in stature for me.
Well, that makes me happy to hear, since it's one of my top favorite Paul albums. I would give it an A. I've always wanted to give it an A because it's my favorite Wings album.
So this one's your favorite?
Yeah, when it comes to the Wings years album, Red Rose Speedway is number one for me.
I'd have to go with Back to the Egg for mine. I love like the rock and the sound of Back to the Egg. I mean, for me, yeah, but no, I mean, I could definitely see, I mean, there's definitely a lot of strengths on this album. Now, was that always kind of your impression with the album? Like, was it always kind of an A with you?
Yeah, from the first, like I said, like from the first time I heard Little Lamb Dragonfly, I mean, that was probably what sucked me in, because I was just blown away. That was probably in the early 2000s when because when I first became a Beatles fan, I was like, only Beatles. I was a Beatles purist. Don't give me any solo anything. And then I kind of started like, let me try Wings. And I was just blown away by that song. Like the first time I heard it was like, whoa, what is this? This is amazing. I got to listen to it again. So that kind of made this album like one of my favorites because it had the song I liked so much on it. But then the more I listened to it, I liked the whole album. So yeah, probably right off the bat.
No, that's definitely good. That's definitely good, and especially when you get into the solo stuff. I think, excuse me, I think my introduction to it. So probably in high school, probably about sophomore year. Yeah, it would have to be sophomore year. So when this was reissued in about 1991, I'll say 91, 92, I picked it up from Tower Records. And I do miss Tower Records.
So we didn't have a Tower Records.
Yeah, we had one. When I was living in the Northern Virginia, D.C. area at the time, before coming back to the Boston area. That's a whole other story in itself. But I remember, going to Tower Records. A lot of times I go with my dad. We'd drop off my mom as she worked nights. And sometimes we'd go by, especially on like a Friday night. You'd go, you're like, oh, okay. And I think at that point I had a little bit of spending cash, not a lot. I mean, I'm living at home with my folks, but I got I got the album. And again, I think I heard it. And then I think as I was discovering a lot of Paul's stuff around that time, especially, more of the Wings stuff, I think just for some reason I said, okay, I've got it as part of the collection. I'm a completist, but yeah, it's not striking me as much as others. I'll put that back on the shelf. But no, pleasant. I mean, like I said, pleasantly surprised. It's gone up from that C+ to that B to that good to great status.
I think also with me is at the time I didn't know what I was getting into. I wasn't really, didn't have a lot of Beatles type friends. I was just like, I want to listen to some Paul Wings stuff. So here, let me buy an album, buy a couple albums here, and just grabbed one because I liked the cover. I thought that was funny that he had the rose in his mouth, like that caught my eye. Like, okay, I'll take this one a listen. So I didn't have any preconceived ideas of anybody else because there was no podcast or anything.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It just was my pure opinion.
Yeah, and I think, it was, for me. I mean, early '90s, high school.
We graduated in the same year. So when you said that's the same year.
Yeah. So so definitely, 94 when we graduated, it was like, I mean, a lot more kids. Obviously, they're listening to what's popular. You've got Nirvana, Snoop Dogg. What else? Pearl Jam's probably in the mix somewhere.
Stone Temple Pilots. I remember them being
Stone
big
Temple
when I graduated high school.
Yeah, and I mean, not knocking them at all. They all seem like they're good bands, good others.
Yeah, I listened to that stuff.
Yeah. But I mean, it was just kind of like when you're discovering this, you're going, oh, okay, this is a bit different.
See, that was the time though that I was not interested in solo stuff. I just wanted to listen to the Beatles. Yeah. And I was in high school. I was like, no, I'm not listening to that other stuff. And I was kind of outraged. The first Beatle Fest I went to, it was in '94, and they had like Denny Lane or somebody from Wings was there. I was like, what is this, Wings Fest? I didn't come here for this.
I like that. This is Wings Fest? No, Wings Fest was the next weekend.
You're right. I'm like, I'm here for the Beatles. I'm a Beatles purist. I remember saying that. I'm like, that's so stupid.
Well, it's funny that the things we say when we're younger, when you're thinking, and especially when you're getting into that. I mean, yeah, the Beatles. Look, nothing compared to the Beatles as a group, right? I think we could safely say
Right.
that.
And I think that was my point of view. Was like the four of them were just so great. Why do I want to listen to Paul with another group when I know the Beatles are so great?
Yeah, no.
But then, after a while, it's like, okay, I've listened to all the Beatles albums and I've analyzed them to death, and then I was ready. Around the time Wingspan came out, it was right before then I started listening to Wings. Probably a couple years before that.
Another good collection. I was excited when it came out, and when I heard the chart position it got, I'm like, it's pretty good for a band that's also been broken up for X number of years, and I don't think Paul had really put out anything at that time besides Run Devil Run and then like Flaming Pie a couple years before.
Yeah.
So it was even just kind of nice, like, oh yeah, I remember, the stuff with with Linda and with Denny, of course, especially with Linda. But I think a bunch of these tracks ended up on. I mean, certainly My Love was definitely on there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think if Get on the Right Thing was there.
I don't
I
remember.
don't know if it went too deep though.
I don't
See,
know.
I can't remember without like
I know there were two
grabbing the track.
discs. One that was like the singles, I think, and then another one that was just like album tracks that I don't know if Paul liked or were featured in the documentary.
Yep.
And I know one of them though. I listened to the one with all the singles on it. I listened to more than the other one because that one was kind of a nice in the car, all the hits.
Yeah.
Had the CD player in your car, and I still do have
I
a CD player
that.
in my car.
I do. Oh, I know. I missed that. It's like with the latest one I got. I'm like, oh no, CD player. I do have one here at home.
I have a CD player in my car right now. Ram's in the CD player in the car.
Nice. I'm gonna have to definitely give this even another spin. Even probably dive back into the deep cuts and everything.
Yeah.
Well, just gonna sort of wrap it up. I think a little bit, but we're gonna see any other final thoughts on like the album or the time period for Red Rose Speedway.
Well, I think people who have kind of written it off need to give it a second chance or a third chance, whatever the case may be. And look into some of the live stuff that Paul was doing from 1973. That live concert tour of the UK that kicked off, I think it was like May 11th, because I just posted something about it on my blog. It was pretty rocking. Like, it was a really good concert. So I would recommend going to meetthebeatlesforreal.com, look up some of the stories of what was happening at that time. It was really interesting how the fans got to meet him backstage or at the stage door a lot. He was really open to meeting people, and it was a really, really good time in Paul's life.
Yes. Yeah, I think things are on the upswing, and and a lot of other even bigger commercial success to come. And this is definitely a major stepping stone, a major
right.
point.
And that tour that was going on in the spring of '73, right before Band on the Run started happening, it was just it's an interesting time.
Yes. Yeah, it definitely was with a lot of the concerts and everything. I'm definitely going to link in the description to Meet the Beatles for Real, to your book again, of course. And I know you have your, the YouTube channel you've been doing with Scott. So do you guys have other topics you've been doing? I'm definitely going to link to that as well.
Yeah, we just interviewed Marty Edwards, Pat Mancuso, and Patty Gallo-Steinman about their experiences being first-generation Beatle fans. We just did an interview with them that went up on Saturday.
Nice. I'm definitely going to link to that. And I think, as some final thoughts of my own, again, I'm glad I gave this album a second, third chance, however many times it's been. It's been a while for me. So I mean, when for me again, whether you decide to get this version, probably a little harder to find since it's the 91 CD, but especially, this is the 2 CD version for the for the archives. If you either can't get the archive set itself, or maybe don't want to dive that deeply into it, it's still got some good tracks, especially the Live and Let Die is, of course, on the 2 CD version as well.
Oh, is
obviously
it?
cover.
I didn't realize that, but yeah, that makes
Let
sense.
me double check the track
That
listing.
makes sense
Actually,
that it would be on there.
I think it would be. Hold on a second. Let me take a look. Bonus audio. Mary Had a Little Lamb. Yeah, Live and Let Die is on there, as well as Live and Let Die Group Only Take 10 on the bonus audio disc right
I gotta
here.
find that because that sounds interesting.
There we go.
Yeah,
That's
that sounds really interesting.
Mary Had a Little Lamb, Hi Hi Hi, which was a single.
Yeah.
Sea Moon. Now, Sea Moon for me, never quite been one of my favorites, to be
No,
honest.
that one's never been. It's okay.
Yeah, it's there, but I never
I
understood
say
why
that,
she.
but like I know, I'll say that about a song. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't really like that one, but yet I know every single word to it, and I could sing it like in my sleep. So for a song, I'm like, yeah, I don't really like it that much. Well, obviously, I must like it somewhat because
It's catchy. It's definitely
right.
catchy.
It's
I know
catchy.
you
I know
started off
I can sing
for
along with it. I don't
something about
skip
that.
over it if I hear it. So it just
That
doesn't seem one of their strongest songs.
yeah, that's the thing about this Paul guy. It's so sneaky sometimes. It's like
I know.
even when you're not a fan of a particular song, you're like, it's still catchy.
I know. That's just he just tricks us and reels us in that way.
Every time I think I'm out, they bring me right back.
I know. Well, they released a new box set of something that I want.
Oh God, I know.
No, and
That's always
unfortunately I was at a time where, and we all have this, where when that box set came out, I really wanted it, but I just didn't have the money at that time. You know, it was just a time where I just didn't have the money. And so I saved some money and then I couldn't find it after that. And then now it's like way more expensive than it was. And
yep.
I know
Especially the 72. Are you talking about like the regular set or like the 72 set with
the big box set, that's what I really wanted because it's my favorite Wings album, but it was just not obtainable for me at the time when it was released, and now it's even more not obtainable. But
geez, it's definitely that's the downside of it too. Sometimes you get these big box sets and they're nice,
well,
but
and a
yeah,
lot of stuff comes out at the same time.
yeah.
Like a Beatles box set for the White Album or something will come out at the same, like
You
I
know,
want it
funny you
all.
mentioned that. That's the one I'm trying to find. I look around, I'm like, that's the unobtainable one. Like Abbey Road, Let It Be, you can seem to still find. White
Yeah,
Album, I'm like,
really? See,
where did it go?
I got that for Christmas
Oh,
in 2008
yeah,
when it came out. I got it for Christmas. So
nice. Oh
yeah,
man, yeah,
that's a good one.
yeah. No, I love that they're diving into the archives and
Right. But
everything.
all those big boxes sets that Paul has put out has been beautifully done.
Oh yeah, a lot of content, and to watch that kind of evolve over time from
Mm-hmm.
the beginning with McCartney, which is just a much slimmer, kind of more bare bones, to last one, which was Flaming Pie, which is big, huge. I've
Yeah,
got them
I have the
there.
Flaming Pie one.
Yeah, could lift some weights with that one, I think.
Right.
Not even talking about the other super deluxe, which is probably like that big or something like that.
Right. And I didn't get the All Things Must Pass Super Mega Deluxe that comes with like a gnome. I don't know.
Yeah, that
like a case with a gnome. I was like, I don't need all that, but that's pretty cool.
it does look cool. I mean, if I had the cash for that, yeah, it's
Right. But I'm saying I don't
$1,000 for
need all that.
yeah. I mean, $1,000 for
I
the
would
gnome
like
plus
it.
the
It
bench
does
set,
look
but
pretty
yeah,
cool.
they are. They definitely are.
Like comes with its own gnome. Yeah, Paul doesn't bring anything like that to the table, but they're still pretty good.
Maybe as a good segue towards the ending here, maybe a Red Rose Speedway set with like probably some sort of fancy designed rose in it. That's like a
Yeah.
not glass, but I think you know what I mean. Just something kind
Yeah.
of like artsy and kind of like part of the big box, and could add
Yeah.
probably
Yeah, it could have like
100 to it.
the motorcycle with the rose on the outside of the
Oh
box.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You know what? That's actually as I'm looking at the cover here. Yeah, you know what? That would be a good idea. Yeah, you know what? Well, as MPL, if you're listening,
Yeah. I always have good ideas for what
definitely,
Paul needs to do.
Definitely,
He never
Sarah.
listens to me, you know.
He doesn't return my calls either. Oh my
No, I
goodness. Well,
try, but no, he's
I know. It's, I keep dialing the same number. I don't know what happens, but it says disconnected. But definitely pick this up. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. But Sarah, thank you so much for being back on. I appreciate kind of the discussion, the feedback with Red Rose
thanks for having me
Speedway.
back. You know,
Yeah,
anytime I can talk about Paul McCartney, I'm happy to do it.
definitely. And thank you. You know, you, like I said, you inspired me to go back and re-listen because
I'm glad.
it's one, especially, especially this version. I hadn't pulled it off the shelves in quite a while. And when I'm listening, I'm like, yeah, really
Because
good.
that's been my evil plan all along, is to win Paul McCartney fans over for Red Rose Speedway, one fan at a
Oh,
time. Haha.
now that's why. Oh, that's it's a plan to take over the world with Red Rose Speedway.
Yes, all Paul fans need to give it a chance.
Let's give Red Rose Speedway a chance.
Yes.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on, Sarah. Appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and link to her information down below, as I did on our last episode. So definitely get her new book as well. Really worth it. The Dear Beetle People book. I'll link to that.
Well, thank you.
Go ahead and get that. And you know what? Listen to her YouTube channel, obviously, with Scott Cardinal, right?
Scott Cardinal, yeah.
Yep. So to give a plug for that, and of course, Meet the Beatles for Real. You know what? Great site for a lot of photos, a lot of everything, a lot of intimate fan photos that you're not going to find really anywhere else.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been
Awesome.
fun.
Awesome. All right. Well, and everybody, if you're enjoying the show, please just make sure to give a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. And you know what? I'll see everybody on the next episode. Take care, everybody.